All right, hi and good morning everyone. So this is the video that I promised where we're going to look at how to use Chat GPT to help plan your project. So first let's start with, this is the free version of Chat GPT. As long as you have an email address, you can register for an account here and you can use the exact same version that I am using. So let's start. So let's just say I am 31 years old. With a master's degree in data science, living in Nigeria. What are some project ideas I can do to improve access to healthcare and quality education? So the reason I said that is because it's just to highlight how versatile this is. Like you can, depending who you are, your age, your educational background, your work experience, you can let ChatGPT know and it will give you a response that considers that information, which is really interesting. So I'll give another example in a bit. And also throughout this video, I will be also answering some of the questions we had in the webinar that were really interesting. And that's a perfect example of how you can use ChatGPT to answer some of your own questions as you go on this journey. Now, of course, just like with Wikipedia, you don't want to completely rely on this one resource as it is not scholarly or academic. However, it's a great tool to help you plan, and I'm going to go into more detail throughout the rest of this video. So let's see what it came up with in response to our first question. That first, for healthcare, you could potentially have a project analyzing healthcare data to identify the most prevalent diseases and conditions in Nigeria and develop predictive models to forecast outbreaks and epidemics. And that way you could notify the government in advance before a potential outbreak and help people take appropriate preventative measures, as well as develop a machine learning model to predict patients' diagnosis and help physicians make better treatment decisions, as well as building a recommendation system that suggests the most appropriate healthcare providers for patients based on their medical history and current location. These are all things based on having a degree with a data analysis and technical background that you can do in these two fields. There's also for education, you can develop an online platform that provides free access to educational resources such as textbooks, videos, tutorials. You can also analyze educational data to identify the factors that affect academic performance and design interventions to improve learning outcomes. So one of the things that I want to show you from the People's Accords website is we have our work suggestions, and it outlines all of our requests for proposals, like our key areas of interest and what we fund. So for example, there are groups working on SDG number 1, which is no poverty. So we can come back here and say, I am working in a group of 5 people and we have $500 to spend on a project in Nigeria for helping achieve the Sustainable Development Goal of no poverty. And then let's see what it says, because maybe it won't give me a good answer. And this is an example of, if you ask ChatGPT a question, your answer is only going to be as good as the question that you ask. So, for example, this is giving us some answers that we want, but maybe we can, if we don't like, we can re-specify it and say, can you give me examples of a project that can be completed in 6 weeks or 6 months? And you can change the size of the budget, change the size of the group, depending on your situation. And I'm using everything in context of what we're doing here in the Citizen Diplomat Society at the People's Court. So there's some ideas to consider, such as microfinance for women entrepreneurs, training and capacity building for farmers, waste management for economic empowerment, and sustainable agriculture for food security. I guess all of these things can be used as projects that would cost under $500 and help reduce poverty in Nigeria. So especially the vocational training for youth, it's interesting to note that some of these projects cross goals. There's a lot of intersection between having no poverty and also having quality education or better healthcare. For example, vocational training for youth is something that can reduce poverty, but also enhance access to quality education. So let's do this one more time, and we're going to actually go through the example all the way. And I'm going to use one of the questions that came from the workshop on Wednesday, where he asked, so in Nigeria, we are switching to a mobile-based payment system. How can we help rural farming communities adapt and participate in this system where most people do not have a smartphone or access to stable internet? Now you can correct me if I'm wrong, if this is, and you can ask in your own way. I highly encourage you even to ask your own questions, to share screenshots of what you asked and what it responded in the group. It's always really interesting to share ideas. You can share ideas amongst the larger group and also in particular within your smaller project group. Will be very interesting. And it's also morning here where I'm at. I think we're only an hour. Our time zone is only an hour separate. I'm also in the Middle East. And our response is interesting. So it says switching to a mobile-based payment system in Nigeria has the potential to revolutionize the way people access financial services, especially in rural areas. However, as you mentioned, many people in these communities do not have smartphones or access to stable internet, which can make it challenging for them to participate in the new system. Here are some strategies that we can consider to help rural farming communities adapt and participate in this new payment system. So first, we can do an educational outreach program where the first step in helping rural farming communities adapt to the new payment system is to educate them about the benefits of mobile-based payments and how it works. You can work with local community leaders and organizers to organize a training session or workshop to educate people about the new payment system, how to access it, and how to use it to make transactions. We can also provide access to mobile phones. While many people in rural areas may not have access to smartphones, they may still have access to basic feature phones. You can work with local mobile network providers to provide low-cost or free basic feature phones to people in the community, along with SIM cards that are compatible with the new payment system. So you can use the USSD codes. USSD codes are simple and easy to use mobile payment solutions that do not require a smartphone or internet connection. You can work with network operators to enable USSD codes for the new payment system and train people in the community on how to use them to make transactions. There's also the ability to establish mobile money agents. You can work with local entrepreneurs or business owners to establish a mobile money agency located in rural communities. These agents can help people in the community to register for the new payment system, deposit and withdraw money, and make transactions, essentially like a mobile bank or sort of a third party to help people until they can have the access to their own phones. And then the last suggestion here is building community support to help rural farming communities adapt and participate in the new payment system. It is important to build community support and involvement, and you can work with local community leaders to establish a community-based organization that can help people in the community to access and use the new payment system. So let's use one of these projects as an example. And we'll start with the first one because maybe that's one thing that's the most achievable and simple to do. So we will say, can you write a project outline for the idea to, and then we'll just copy paste, educate the community about the benefits of the new national global payment system. The plan should cost $1,000 or less. I think we can even do $500 for something like this. $500 or less. Be completed within 6 weeks. So let's see how it responds to that. We're asking Chat GPT now. So let's say we chose, and you could have chosen any of these on your own or for whatever project idea you have, and then ask Chat GPT to write you a project outline. So you can say, sure, here's a project outline for educating the community about the benefits of the new national mobile payment system. And one thing is, it's keeping in mind its previous responses. So this entire chat that we're having, it's going to remember the questions we asked it before and take that into consideration. So it's already aware that we're talking about citizens in Nigeria, as well as reaching SDG 1, which is no poverty. So here's a project outline. It's giving it a title, Mobile Payment System Education and Awareness Campaign. The project overview is that the goal of this project is to educate farming communities in Nigeria about the benefits of the new national payment. The budget is 500 or less, timeline 6 weeks. The activities will be a needs assessment, conduct a needs assessment to identify the target communities and their current level of awareness, have some educational materials developed, implement training sessions, organize those training sessions for community members, implement community outreach activities, and then perform feedback and evaluation. So the deliverables would include educational materials, flyers, and all of the, it's still writing, so, and then it's giving us a conclusion. So this is a really good start, but it's missing a few things. For example, it doesn't give a detailed budget. It also doesn't, what we also want to know is how many people we can positively impact, how we can measure if we positively impacted the community. So that's the next thing we'll answer is, can you provide me a detailed budget for such a project? And let's see how it responds. Still thinking, and it's not always super fast, and sometimes it's crashing. So, you want to be able to have some idea yourself and have expertise in these areas already, so that you don't completely rely on Chat GPT. But I know in the poll that I ran in the beginning of on Monday or Tuesday, there's a lot of people who haven't had any experience writing a project proposal, while others have. So using Chat GPT can help you make up for some of that lack of actually proposal writing experience, but you can still implement your idea. This will just help you structure that idea, expand on your idea in a way that's suitable for receiving money. So one of the things we're going to do for all of our participants is only a select few projects can actually earn money from, or can actually receive funding for this round of voting and this round of projects. But what we're actually going to help our citizen diplomats do is, through the People's Accords, help get funding and grants from other organizations and train you on how to do that as well, because we believe that all of the group projects here can make a positive impact. So even if we don't directly fund you through this cohort right now, we will be offering education and also opportunities to receive grants from other organizations in the future. We have a lot of things that we're building here and working on together, and this is a very exciting opportunity for everyone. And we're just really grateful to be starting in Nigeria with such an amazing group of people. So it's still writing our budget. And it's interesting how at the end of each item, it's giving this total cost, and then the grand total, $530 for the project. So note that while the total budget is slightly over $500, it's not so much over that it's meaningful. It's a realistic estimate of what the costs will actually be. So what did it estimate is that the needs assessment, transportation to the target communities, $50, data collection tools, $30, refreshments for community members during data collection, $30. So you'll have to probably, this needs assessment, if you actually implement something like this, you would need to dive into that further. Like, what tools do you need for the data collection? What questions are you going to be asking people in terms of this needs assessment? There has to be an actual assessment developed that you can ask the same questions to each person and gauge the needs of the community. So the educational materials development, where we need like design and printing of flyers, brochures, and posters for $150. It's probably the most expensive part of the project. Distribution of the materials, the training, actually hosting the training session, renting a venue, transportation for trainers, refreshments for participants, and then it goes into more detail for each part for feedback and evaluation. And then I want to ask it, how can we measure the positive impact of this program? Because one of the most important things is to also be able to measure how many people's lives are we positively impacting through this program. And I'm going to ask one more question, I think, before we go, because I don't want to make this too long. But I just want to show you the power of using Chat GPT to help you with your project planning. So to measure the positive impact of the mobile payment system education and awareness campaign, the evaluation criteria can be one or more of the following, such as the adoption rate. You can follow up with community members later on and see how many community members have actually adopted the payment system. This can be measured before and after. So when you're going first to collect data, you would find out how many people are already participating. And then after your educational outreach program, you would re-survey the group and see how many people decided to adopt mobile payments. And the interesting question is, we were talking about reducing poverty, and I'm not sure exactly how this will directly reduce poverty. So you want to be able to explain that as well to the people. If you, let's say you're right now you're here in the Citizen Diplomat Society and you want to convince your fellow citizen diplomats to vote for your project, because that is how this platform operates. That is how people receive funding from the People's Accords, is having their project voted on by other citizen diplomats as a worthy project for receiving funding. So there has to be an element of convincing people why your project is going to impact lives in a positive way to reach the goal that you are trying to reach. So let's do one last one. I think one of the most popular programs that we have, or responses we had in terms of key interest areas, was good health and well-being, as well as quality education. And we can start there, or we can go to a little lesser known SDG, which is the Sustainable Cities and Communities. There's a small group of probably 2 working on this, as well as industry, innovation, and infrastructure. I wish this was live, because then I could get your vote, but because it's not, I will just go for quality education. So we'll say, what are project ideas in Nigeria under 1,000 that can help enhance access to quality education? And let's see. Here are some project ideas in Nigeria under $1,000 that can help enhance access to quality education. A school supplies donation drive, a library development and a digital literacy training, teacher training workshops, school renovation and improvement, scholarship program, and a mobile library outreach. Well, this is interesting. So these are projects that are directly related to physically enhancing a school. And I'm not exactly satisfied with this answer. Maybe I can say, what are some more entrepreneurial projects that can achieve the same goal under the same conditions? So we want to keep the budget, keep the goal, but we want it to be maybe a bit more entrepreneurial focused, because let's say you have this $1,000, you spend it once and that's it. We would prefer to fund projects that they can continue to generate revenue for themselves and thus help expand the economy, expand the income and quality of life for the person running the project, running the business, and then also benefit the lives of the people who are receiving the services of that business or project. So let's see, what are some other ideas? An online tutoring platform, a school uniform production, digital learning resource creation, school transportation services, mobile learning centers, and a school lunch program. Now, these are really interesting. I think in some ways it's more interesting than what we saw before. For example, if you have some technical skills and you can develop an online tutoring platform that if students, let's say, can go to their local library, or if they have internet in their home and they can study from home rather than, I don't know if it's dangerous to get to school or if it's too expensive to afford certain schooling programs, an online tutoring platform can essentially make it more accessible for students to learn and potentially cost less. There's also the school uniform production. I don't really understand that one. Start a school uniform production business that provides affordable and high quality school uniforms to local schools. So this can help reduce the financial burden on families and increase the number of students attending school. So maybe it would be that the school buys the uniform from you, and then the school can provide that uniform freely to the students. Now, I understand that the schools in Nigeria have been lacking resources as well in a big way, and that's why a lot of people choose to do private schooling instead of public schooling. So I'm not exactly sure how this would actually work out in the real world context of what's going on. The digital learning resource creation, I think, is interesting. You can create digital learning resources such as video lessons, online quizzes, and interactive games that can be accessed by students in remote or underserved communities. And these resources can be sold to local schools or made available on subscription-based models. So there's also these school transportation services, which I thought is really interesting. Maybe there's a lot of people who want to attend school, but they don't have transportation. I am not sure how that would be possible for under $1,000 to start. But it is an interesting and good idea that if there's a need in rural communities who don't have access to schools, this can help transport kids who should get an education to the school of their choice. So the mobile learning centers is sort of the flip of that, where instead of transporting kids to school, you bring the school to the kids. So this would maybe be like a van or a cart or a truck or something that has learning materials, maybe even like a mobile Wi-Fi with a computer or something, or a projector, I'm not sure. And kids can group around outside in their village and learn at this mobile learning center. So this can help underserved communities receive access to quality education, and these learning centers can be equipped with laptops, tablets, and other learning resources and staffed by quality teachers. So this is, I'd be curious to know what you think about using Chat GPT for your project idea. Let's play around with it, send screenshots of how it works for you. Just remember, you can say, let's do one more. I know I keep saying like I'm going to keep it short, but this is really, really interesting and I think important development in terms of technology, that this is free, this is accessible to anyone, anywhere to use Chat GPT. So let's say, write me a project plan with a detailed budget for starting a mobile learning center in Nigeria to serve rural communities. And now it's going to write the project plan. And this would be a really good start for everyone to understand how their project should look when they're submitting their assignments to the People's Accords. I will send out another video tomorrow as well about how to actually submit your assignments if you have any questions on that. It might not be necessary. I will be sharing the links in the group chat for week 1 participation, and week 2 participation will be released next week. So it's still writing here, but it's writing pretty fast, an entire project plan about, with the title, the objective, description, the activities required to do each thing, which is to purchase and equip a bus. The project budget is quite high. It's more like a $12,000 budget. So it really doesn't meet our initial requirements. But it could be something where we really like this project, and so we help you receive funding from another organization through our 501c3, because this is technically a People's Accords project. So this is something like not to be discouraged about if your total project budget is higher than what this current round is offering for grant funding. We would be happy to try and help increase the funding for your project if we think that it should be funded. So let's try something that will cost less. give me a project idea for achieving zero hunger in Nigeria for 1,000 or less. Give me a project idea. Yeah, I think there was another few projects in this category as well. Like each key interest area has projects in it, and that's one of the most exciting things, is that no matter which key interest area or category you are grouped into, you can use Chat GPT to help come up with ideas, refine your project proposal, help with the budget, and then you will still be responsible for checking the work, refining it, because Chat GPT is not perfect. It makes plenty of mistakes. It's an AI, so it only does exactly what you ask it to do. And this, at the end of the day, is your group project. So this is a tool to help you design and plan your project, but it's still, at the end of the day, has to be your intellectual property, your ideas, and also something that you can achieve. We expect that people who receive funding from the People's Accord will be able to complete their project within 6 weeks to 6 months, and we will have somebody working directly with you to make sure the process goes smoothly and make sure that you're actually able to complete the project. So we have the project title would be a community vegetable garden project. To create a community vegetable garden to provide food and reduce hunger in low-income communities in Nigeria. The vegetable garden will be a sustainable solution to provide fresh and nutritious food to families in low-income communities. The project will involve working with community members to identify a suitable location for the garden, prepare the soil, and plant a variety of vegetables that can be harvested throughout the year. The garden will be managed by community members who will be trained on how to care for the plants and maintain the garden. Now, this also requires the people proposing such a project to have relevant expertise in, for example, caring for vegetables, how to care for plants, how to harvest, when to harvest, what to do for the soil. So each of these ideas has a certain kind of professional expertise that's needed in the background. But that's that for this workshop, and I hope you all enjoyed. And if you have any questions, please write it in the chat. We'll be able to follow up with you later. And I know it's Friday, so have a great weekend, everyone. And I look forward to seeing all of your citizen diplomacy interviews as they start to come in. And I guess before I sign off, I will show you where to go, because it's already listed on web3diplomacy.com, the participation link for week 1. If we go to the syllabus, and we scroll down, you can submit your assignment here, and you can take the quiz here. So at the end of the course, we'll be evaluating everyone's passing or failing of the course based on how did you do on the quizzes, did you submit your assignments, did you come to the workshops, and ultimately, did you submit a group project. So this is what the form looks like for our week 1 participation. It will include your email, your name, if you attended the workshop, yes or no, who is in your group project, and a link to assignment 1, which is your Citizen Diplomat interview, and you can upload to your Google Drive and then paste that link here. And again, if you are wondering where to find the interview instructions, you can go back to peoplesaccords.org or to our YouTube channel, but we have Story Library. You can see examples here of what other people have done, and I can also go to Share Your Story under the Engage tab, where this is kind of talking about why you should share your story, or why you share the story of others, and then how to share your own story. These some questions here are, what is your name? Where are you from? Where did you grow? Is that where you grew up? What is your favorite holiday? Describe the holiday. What makes it special? As an adult, do you still celebrate that holiday? And my 2 favorite questions are optional, but it's what is the nicest thing you have ever done, as well as if you could do one thing to make the world a better place, what would it be? So we strongly recommend uploading the video first to Google Drive and then sharing the video link in the assignment form, because we can't be hosting the data for every single video that's going to come in, but we really, really look forward to seeing your interviews, reading your project proposals, and also, of course, seeing you at the workshop next week on Wednesday evening. Take care and have a great weekend, everyone.